Hello everyone and welcome to my review of what is the best Star Wars film. Here we have the cover for this amazing film. This is truly the best Star Wars film so far. It's certainly the best of the original trilogy. It's certainly the best of the first six. So anyway, best Star Wars film came out in 1980, directed by Irvin Kershner. George Lucas sort of took a backseat role because George Lucas, he directed all the prequels and he directed the first Star Wars film, which originally was just called Star Wars before it became Episode 4, A New Hope. Episode 5, directed by Irvin Kershner. The direction is brilliant, top notch. I think it's so iconic, like all the scenes, like the battle on Hoth, as you can see on the back here. And, of course, we have what is arguably one of the most iconic plot twists in all of cinema history towards the end of the film. And the music by John Williams in this film is just completely perfect. It's the best music out of the whole of the first six films, in my opinion. It's better than any of the other themes. And this was the first time we heard that iconic Imperial March theme. And that, for me, is one of the best pieces of music written for a film ever. Some associate that theme with Darth Vader, some associate it with the Empire. And I think it's just so iconic. Whenever you hear that, you instantly think Star Wars. I think, personally, it may actually be better than the actual Star Wars theme tune itself. But anyhow, let's take a look at the plot of this movie. What happens in this? Obviously, this is the sequel to A New Hope, and chronologically, this was the second Star Wars film, so technically it's kind of Star Wars 2, but as we all know, it says here Star Wars 5. But anyway, it is a dark time for the rebellion. After a devastating attack on the ice base on the frozen planet of Hoth, the rebels are scattered by Imperial pursuit. Luke Skywalker seeks out the mysterious Jedi Master Yoda in the swamps of Dagobah, while Han Solo and Princess Leia outrun the Imperial fleet to the beautiful cloud city of Bespin. In an attempt to convert Luke to the dark side, the evil Darth Vader lures young Skywalker into a trap. In the midst of a fierce lightsaber duel with the Sith Lord, Luke faces a terrible truth about the Skywalker legacy, and this is just over 2 hours long. It's brilliant. I love this film. It's just fantastic. It's perfection for me. So, as I said in the plot, the opening of the film takes place on Hoth. One of the best scenes of the film is like the first half hour of the film or so. It all leads up to this great battle on Hoth, and you have all these Imperial walkers known as the AT-AT walkers, and as I say in Family Guy, they look like giant camels. I actually agree, they do look a bit like giant camels. As you can see there, see, there's a better picture of them. They look a bit like giant camels, don't they? It's just a classic battle. And to be honest, and I am speaking from the heart here, you can sort of tell, the effects have dated, because this film came out 35 years ago. It came out in 1980, for God's sake. But for the time, I think the special effects, they would have been so groundbreaking. Probably even more so than the first Star Wars film from 1977. Return of the Jedi jumped the gun even more with even more of these special effects and all of these special stunts. And I really do think that the Hoth battle yeah, you can look at it and think, yeah, it's aged. You can see it's aged because it is 35 years old. We have to remember that. But I remember as a kid, I was totally enthralled by all of this. When I was a 6-year-old, when I sat down to watch it for the first time, I already saw Star Wars. I already loved that. I saw this second one. Wow, I loved this even more. This has always been my favourite Star Wars film, even from a very young age, because it's just all the scenes like the Battle of Hoth. You get to see Luke Skywalker grow as a character. It's everything about this film. If the Hoth battle was done now, I'd say yeah, it probably would be. It would look a bit better. But I think that in this, for 1980, it holds up pretty well. I really do think it holds up very, very well. There's some scenes from the prequel trilogy that don't really hold up that well at all compared to this. For example, the final battle on Naboo at the end of The Phantom Menace. While the special effects were impressive for the time when that came out in 1999, you know, about 10 or 15 years later, you look at it and you think, yeah, it's just all CGI. And with the Empire Strikes Back, of course, it was all done with practical effects. And I'm always going to be on that side of the argument that practical always wins over CGI. Just so as long as the practical effects do look believable, because, you know, sometimes it can be done badly. Take Doctor Who, for example, a low-budget TV show. During the 1970s, I don't know, you had like a tank go by the screen and you could tell it was just like a little toy tank. That's from a story called Robot, by the way, if you're familiar with Doctor Who. And for this, of course, it is a big budget film. It probably was the biggest film to ever come out in the day. Star Wars, the first one, A New Hope, it certainly was. And I think that with a scene like the Hoth battle, it just defined like how much time and effort was spent on this, like all the storyboarding. You know, this was a time when George Lucas knew what he was doing. It was a time when he got everything right, when Star Wars actually was cool, when it actually was Star Wars, not all that political jargon that you see in all of the prequel trilogy. You know, we have none of that crap here. We have the Empire in this film. As the title suggests, they strike back. They were defeated at the end of A New Hope. Now they've come back even stronger. They've got more ships, and they've even got a bigger ship now. And Darth Vader is back, and the Empire, they just kick ass in this film. They really do. Although it's the Stormtroopers, I will admit, in all of the original trilogy, they shoot shit, don't they? What do they actually shoot? There's like a battalion of Stormtroopers everywhere you go. They don't seem to kill any of the main characters. It would have been really interesting to see them kill one of the main characters, such as Han Solo, because Harrison Ford even suggested, why don't we just kill this character off just to make it more dramatic? And of course, we get something close to that at the end of this film when he's frozen in the carbonite. This film, of course, introduces a fan favourite character for the first time, known as Boba Fett. Obviously, we saw Boba Fett as a child chronologically in Attack of the Clones, but, you know, we didn't really need to see that because we just didn't. Boba Fett, you know, it's Boba Fett, he's cool. Hardly has any lines of dialogue. I just think he's an awesome, iconic character. He's just there, he lurks, he follows Han and Leia and the rest of the team to the Cloud City in the middle of the film. And ultimately, it is him who tells Darth Vader, "Yep, they're going here. Right, you need to go down here. You need to capture them. You need to interrogate Han. You need to freeze him in the carbonite, and then lure Luke Skywalker into the trap." Another character that was introduced for the first time when this was first released in 1980 was, of course, the Jedi Master Yoda. Yoda did not appear in A New Hope, and neither did the Emperor either. It's quite a coincidence that out of the first 6 Star Wars films, that Yoda and the Emperor appear in all of them except for Episode 4, A New Hope. The Emperor is mentioned in A New Hope, but you never actually see him, whereas in this you do see him, originally with a strange chimpanzee mask. And, I'm one of those people who is not necessarily a fan of all the changes George Lucas did all those years later when they re-released the original trilogy. But I can say that redoing that scene with the Emperor and replacing Clive Revill with Ian McDiarmid, it was the right choice, really, because then it all went full circle, because it didn't really make sense that we would have had different actors playing the Emperor. And it's for the first time, really, we sort of see that Darth Vader is just basically a follower of the Emperor, and that the Emperor really is he's a true mastermind behind all of this. He's a true mastermind behind the Empire. You see all the origins of this through the prequel trilogy, and I think that's actually one of the good things about the prequel trilogy. It's one thing that it did well, in my opinion, and that may be due to the great acting abilities of Ian McDiarmid. But yeah, the Emperor in this film, he only appears for about 1 to 2 minutes. It's more or less a short cameo. Yoda, he obviously appears as a puppet in this film. And remember in my Phantom Menace review, I said how shoddy that the puppet in that film looked compared to this and Return of the Jedi. The puppet in this, it's a 35-year-old film. It was probably 36 to 37 years ago when Yoda was designed, when they were coming up with the concept art and all of that. It holds up really well. It doesn't look bad at all. It really doesn't. And I think that the puppet Yoda is superior to the CGI Yoda. The puppet Yoda in this and Return of the Jedi is superior to that what we see in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. Although the worst we've seen of Yoda was that original puppet version that we saw in The Phantom Menace, because I don't know what they did there. They could have just used the same puppet, couldn't they? But yeah, the puppet in this is really good. It was, of course, voiced by Frank Oz, who at the time would have been familiar with many of the child audience as the voice of some characters from the Muppets, including Miss Piggy. Yeah, Miss Piggy. She's still going out with...
Don't you dare!
I can do whatever the hell I want, Dave. Do you want me to get Arnold Schwarzenegger to tell you where to go again? Yoda teaches Luke the ways of the Force, and I think that this is when we truly get to see, Luke grow as a character, because in A New Hope, he was that farm boy, he was just the innocent character. His guardians, his uncle and aunt, they unfortunately got killed by the Empire. Come to think of it, they would have got killed by some sandtroopers, wouldn't they? So it does go to show that the stormtroopers do kill, but we never actually see it on screen, which is a pity. Would have been really interesting to see that actually happen. But yeah, he's like the innocent beginner in that film, because Ben Kenobi teaches him roughly about the Force, what it's all about. You have the light side, you have the dark side. There's a good and bad side to it all, and it tells him about Darth Vader. He killed his father, all of that type of stuff. And of course, after Ben or Obi-Wan, whatever you want to call him, after he gets killed by Darth Vader himself on the Death Star, Luke sort of loses. He's kind of like a father figure to him in A New Hope, and he sort of lost that. But Obi-Wan can still communicate with Luke through the Force. He can appear as a Force ghost, and he gave him the instructions to go to Yoda. So he found Dagobah. He flew his X-Wing and he crashed into the lake on Dagobah. And I think that's symbolic of Luke not being ready, because The Empire Strikes Back, all the way through the film, Luke is not good enough. He's not good enough to be a Jedi. Yoda even says, "You are not ready, you're not done with your training." He's not a good enough Jedi. Even when he tries to use the Force to get the X-Wing out of the lake, he just can't do it, and he says he can't do it. And then Yoda does it just like that, effortlessly. A little green man can do that, and Luke Skywalker, a young, maturing adult, can't do that. So it just goes to show, really, how inexperienced the character is. And I think Mark Hamill does an absolutely brilliant job in this. I just love the direction that they take Luke in this film. I love the direction how Luke goes throughout the original trilogy. It's one of the greatest stories in all of cinema history. Young farm boy, he goes on to save the galaxy from the evil Empire, and he turns Darth Vader back to the good side at the end. And it's just an amazing story. And for me, the middle part is always the best of this, because the middle part shows his fall, because he thinks that he's ready, but he's not. And that's evident through the final battle, because he finally confronts Darth Vader at the end of the film. Darth Vader even senses that he's not ready to face him. He said, "The Force is strong with you, young Skywalker, but you are not a Jedi yet." Again, this movie is so quotable. I love quoting all of these films, all the original trilogy. I hardly quote the prequel trilogy, because if I do, it'll be some stupid line made by... oh God. We don't mention that character during review of the Empire Strikes Back. That is just sacrilege. I don't know if it's just me, but I really do like this lightsaber battle. I'm not sure if it's the best out of the whole of the first 6 films. Between, the lightsabers between Luke and Darth Vader. I'm not sure. I will be honest, okay? As perfect as A New Hope is, I think the lightsaber battle in that with Darth Vader and Obi-Wan Kenobi is the weakest out of the first 6 films. The lightsaber battles in all the prequels are all better than the lightsaber battle that you see in A New Hope, because, I don't know, it wasn't that good compared to the likes of Revenge of the Sith or The Phantom Menace. But here the lightsaber battle is much better in my opinion, and it holds up as one of the best. Again, everything about this holds up very well. We have Luke Skywalker face off in the final climatic battle with Darth Vader, and basically Darth Vader kicks his ass. And to top it all off, we get what is the most iconic line probably ever in Star Wars.
No, I am.
Actually, no, he doesn't say that. He actually says this.
No, I am your father.
You serious?
After Luke finds out he sacrifices himself, he could potentially have died at the end of this film, but luckily he's saved by Leia, Chewie, R2, C-3PO, and another new character known as Lando Calrissian. And that will take me on to the other subplot of the film, which is the journey of Han and Leia. Now, towards the beginning of the film, our three main characters, Luke, Han and Leia, were all split up. And they never properly reunite until the end of the first act of Return of the Jedi. So it's like a whole 2 hours in runtime over the two films that we don't see these characters together. Han and Leia are together for pretty much all the film until the very, very end, when Han gets frozen in carbonite. And again, like Luke Skywalker, we'll get to see these characters blossom. And it turns out that Han and Leia are now an item. They fall in love with each other. And you know what? This is done well. This isn't forced. This isn't like all that crap that you see in Attack of the Clones where it's just forced upon the audience that Anakin is just a creepy little perv who just wants to get with Padme. This is legit. You know, the way this was written and the way this was acted, Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher, whew, they pull it off. They just own it. I actually legitimately believe that they love each other. You know, if you didn't think that this was fictional, you know, you would believe that they are together. Besides the fact that this is just a sci-fi space opera film, you know, because the way it's acted, it's believable. The way it's written is believable. You don't want all that forced shit. What you see in Attack of the Clones? No. That was just bad because, well, that was more predictable anyway because it was prequels and obviously Anakin had to get with somebody because we wouldn't have had Luke and Leia. But still, this, I think if you watched this for the first time, would you necessarily have thought that Leia and Han would have got together? No. You would have thought that Leia and Luke would have got together. Oh my god. Let's not go into that. We'll talk more about that when I go on to review Return of the Jedi, because I've got a bit to say about that. But yeah, the love story with Han and Leia is beautiful. It's one of the centerpieces of this film, because as you see on the disc, which actually is just the original poster of the film, they're the centre of the poster. Han and Leia, together. They love each other. You know, Luke's only like a side character on this, despite him being the main character of the whole film. And, yeah. It just works. And that scene at the end of the film, it was improvised, because Harrison Ford, he just didn't feel that his character would have said, "I love you too," to Leia after Leia confesses her love for him when he's about to freeze. And, you know, he could have died. And he just has that cocky grin on his face and he just says, "I know," and then he goes down. You know, he could have died. That could have been the end of Han Solo. Thankfully it wasn't, though, because, let's face it, Han Solo is just bloody awesome. He's like one of the best characters ever in anything. And because, you know, Harrison Ford, he's just awesome. You can't argue with that. He's just awesome. If you disagree with me, then kindly go away. Lando, played by Billy D. Williams, he does a great job as well. Billy D. Williams. he's got a past with Han Solo, and it turns out that he was the original owner of the Millennium Falcon before he lost it in a game to Han Solo, a gambling game of all things. And I think he plays the character well. He's more of a side character in this. Well, he is a side character essentially in all of the films he appeared in. But I think Lando's a good character. Obviously, he is forced to make a bargain with the Empire, and you don't know, is he a good guy or is he a bad guy? Sort of fishy. But of course, at the end of the film, we learn that actually he's on the good side. He's not part of the Empire. The Empire just got him into the corner, because I think if he said no, he would have ended up getting killed, and yeah, all hell would have broke loose, and everything could have potentially got worse for the heroes, because Leia, Chewie, and the droids, they were all spared by the Empire, and Han Solo was taken away to Jabba the Hutt, who originally was unseen until we had the special edition version, the CGI version. And I think that the way Lando is acted by Billy D. Williams, is conflicted, and the audience, when you see it for the first time, you don't know, is he good, is he bad? When I watch it, I go into the mindset thinking, right, if I've not seen this film before, is this guy a good guy or a bad guy? And you want me to be honest, at first he does seem like he is working for the Empire, really, because he has, just something a bit fishy about him, a bit awkward, especially like the entrance scene. But yeah, it's good that he's a good character, because it's good writing. It adds mystery to the plot. I know it's just a small part of the film, but I really like that. It's something that is done well, and that's why this is the perfect Star Wars film. The plot is darker, there's more mystery to it, and to add everything to the mix, we've got some new characters, we've got returning characters. They have been expanded upon. They are now more fully fledged characters. They're more believable characters. We know them a lot more. R2, C3PO, and Chewie, they're there for comic relief, and again, love them to bits. C3PO has got some of the best lines in this film. Anthony Daniels, no one else could have played C3PO for this. And even Chewie, I know this sounds odd, this is probably Chewie's best film, because the way he roars in this film, and the way it is acted by Peter Mayhew, like all the mannerisms, his facial expressions, because it must be hard with all that makeup on, and with all that fur and everything like that, and being tall. I really do feel that Chewie is at his best in this film, and I really love the bit when he roars, like grieving in some sort of way, because him and Han are like best friends, and there's a moment where you think, my God, Han Solo's died and he's got frozen. So yeah, everything about this film's perfect. I don't need to go on and on. You know how much I love this film. I've said this in past videos of mine. This is the definitive Star Wars film. The music is just, it's just perfect. Everything's perfect about this film. Do I need to say anything more about this? Do I really need to say anything? Do I need to say anything? I think I've said more or less everything I need to say. All the action scenes are just brilliant. All the music is brilliant. The acting is brilliant. The writing is brilliant. The special effects are brilliant for 1980. And Darth Vader, that final plot twist, a dagger in the heart. When I first saw it, I didn't see it coming. But I think now, with social media and that, it's kind of obvious, which is a shame, because I think that when you're a small child, the best way to view Star Wars, this has to be the way to watch Star Wars. You watch 4 first. Don't bother watching the prequels first. If you're going to start off with Star Wars, you've never seen it before, you have to watch A New Hope first. Because if you watch the prequels, it spoils the atmosphere of this film. It spoils the surprise at the end of this film that Darth Vader is revealed to be Luke Skywalker's father. Because, it's... At the time, it was a big deal. No one saw it coming. No one at all saw it coming. Only 2 people knew. The actual script, it didn't even say that. It actually just said, no, Obi-Wan killed your father. But Mark Hamill knew full well the true ending of the film. Hence why you see his reaction to what was delivered. So, yeah, about 2-3 people know. They knew it. James Earl Jones obviously had to know because he had to deliver the line. Dave Prowse didn't know. He just said Obi-Wan killed your father. Mark Hamill obviously knew. And the writer knew. George Lucas. And I can't remember. I'm not sure if Irvin Kershner knew. Could have done. But I think that... it's just a brilliant twist. It's great. So, if you've not seen Star Wars, say you've got a kid and they've never seen Star Wars, it is the best way. Watch A New Hope first. Don't bother with The Phantom Menace first. You have to watch A New Hope. Don't be fooled by the stupid numbering system. 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, and then 7 onwards. That's how it goes. So yeah, that is The Empire Strikes Back in a nutshell. I've not really got that much else to say, apart from the fact that this is easily the best Star Wars film, and it earns a 10 out of 10 from me. It's perfect. It's one of the best films ever made, in my opinion, and I think the world wouldn't be a better place if we didn't have this film. This surpasses A New Hope in every way. It surpasses every Star Wars film. And you know how much I love A New Hope. I gave that a 10 out of 10 as well. So yeah, it's a 10 from me, because I just feel personally that this is a rare occasion that the sequel is better than the original. You don't really get that with films, because usually the sequels, they never live up to the original. So The Empire Strikes Back, for me, is the definitive example. That's how you do a sequel. That's how you surpass the original. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching my review of Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. We've only got one left now in our marathon of the first 6 Star Wars films, which is, of course, Return of the Jedi, another film that I absolutely love. But is it my favourite of the original trilogy? Well, I kind of answered that for you. It's not, because The Empire Strikes Back is. And then, of course, after that, I will be taking a look at the brand new Star Wars film, The Force Awakens, which comes out later this month. So I hope you're all having a great day, everyone, and I hope you're all having a nice day, whatever you're doing. I hope you're all looking forward to Christmas, and until next time, everyone, may the Force be with you. You will subscribe. Subscribing to me is a good idea.